Aw, animals.
Florida hires India tribesmen to capture Burmese pythons. The invasive python problem in Florida is no joke. Between 2002 and 2012, more than 2,000 Burmese pythons were pulled out of the Everglades. But at the rate they breed, that number just ain't gonna cut it. So, Florida Fish and Wildlife has called in a couple of specialists for a unique project. Masi Sadaiyan and Vadivel Gopal are master snake wranglers from India. Members of the Irula tribe, they make their living by catching rats and snakes back home. This past month, they've been flown to the United States to seek out and capture as many treacherous Burmese pythons as they can over the next 2 months. Using the help of python-detecting Labrador retrievers, the team has done an expert job of seeking out the slithery serpents, having caught as many as 15 pythons in their first 2 weeks on the prowl, the largest a 16-foot female. An invasive species, Burmese pythons have been wreaking havoc on South Florida's ecosystem for roughly 3 decades, killing and competing with native species. If the Irula tribesmen can put a dent in Florida's python population, estimated today at roughly 5 to 10,000, don't be surprised to see a few more Indian snake hunters walking around the Everglades, and a lot less snakes. Want to see more stories of pesky pythons? You're in luck!
Ah, the perils of gluttony. Karma came swiftly for one voracious python who got screwed over by his dinner and ended up dying for it. After gorging itself on a whole canine, the 6-foot-long reptile tried to slither out of a grassy lot in Nigeria. But halfway through, its doggy bump got wedged in between 2 iron rods and just wouldn't budge. With no way to squeeze itself out, the snake remained in the tight spot for several hours and was dead by the time a local man discovered it. Shocked at seeing such a huge animal, the man called a few more people to inspect the greedy snake and make sure it had gone to serpent heaven. Once the python's body was freed and its stomach cut open to reveal the doggy dinner, into the fire it went. See ya, slithers! Best cut down on whole foods in your next life, eh? Crikey! Horse watches a python chowing down. Gnarly photos of a 7-meter-long python eating a wallaby in Queensland, Australia have gone viral. Known as scrub python, these guys commonly chow down on smaller creatures. But hey, it was New Year's Day and Mr. Snake wanted to try something with a little extra bounce. And how exactly he got his fangs on this marsupial is anybody's guess, because wallabies bounce around at pretty high speeds. Amusingly, a nearby horse is also pictured watching the snake feast, and this curious equine went in for a really close look at the action. The images were taken by Bernie Worldsford. He told ABC it took the python 3 hours to swallow the wallaby. Wow!
Python suffocates alligator in underwater wrestling match. Alligators in South Florida haven't evolved to anticipate having to tangle with humongous snakes from Southeast Asia. But with the influx of Burmese pythons in the Everglades over the past decade, they'd better learn some self-defense, and fast. On the morning of December 21st, journalist Joe Capozzi was riding his bike when he heard some commotion coming from a swamp up ahead. What he saw shocked the hell out of him. A 6-foot alligator, belly up and fighting for its life, as a 15-foot python coiled itself around the gator's body. Capozzi wasted no time, grabbing his smartphone to record the intense encounter. He recalls that while the gator would pop up from the water every few minutes, the snake had total control over it, tightening its grip and robbing it of air, until it finally stopped moving. Capozzi says the scene looked like an alligator trapped in a stack of tires underwater. After watching for roughly 10 minutes, a clear winner having emerged, he continued on his bike ride and published a piece about what he saw 2 weeks later. Burmese pythons have invaded Florida's ecosystem over the past decade, the result of irresponsible exotic pet owners and the destruction of a python breeding facility in 1992, caused by Hurricane Andrew. More than 2,000 of the snakes have been removed from the area, but at the rate they breed, Floridians better hope their adult alligators enjoy the taste of python. Otherwise, this will become an even more familiar sight, and it's not a good look.
2 male carpet pythons battle it out.
Thanks. Yeah, shit.
An Australian mom and her young son got a slithery surprise when they looked out of the window one day last week. Rebecca Beale from Goonongarry in New South Wales said unfortunately her son learned a few new swear words during the hypnotizing sight of two male carpet pythons having a Barney played out on her back porch. Ah, Australia. Where else on the planet could such scenes take place than the land where every living creature, apart from the koalas, seems hell-bent on trying to poison or swallow you whole? This is a place where if the venomous spiders, rapacious crocodiles, or great white sharks don't get you, then the Joe Blakes definitely will. In Australia, you don't go to Mother Nature. No, she comes to you. Even in their own homes, Aussies get a front row seat as some of the finest creatures in the animal kingdom try to get a stranglehold on supremacy.
Sit. Can you sit on me?
According to Beale, the two pythons fell off the roof of her house on September 1st, which many down under consider to be the first day of spring. Beale said she and her little ankle biter watched with a mixture of fascination and disgust as the snakes had a real fair dinkum go at each other. Carpet pythons are native to Australia and can grow up to 13 feet long. They live on a diet of small mammals, birds, and lizards, though incidents of them swallowing small dogs and little blonde Australian boys are not unheard of. Okay, just kidding about the last one. But we don't see anyone going outside to test the theory.
Yucky. Snake. Blech.
Seems like the two snakes were happy to fight it out when they thought no one was watching. But as the pythons came to realize they weren't alone, the two supreme predators seemed to lose interest in one another. Instead, they focused their attention on the potential meal sitting right behind the glass door. Which means it was probably a good time to put down the camera, seal all the doors, and wait for the snakes to slither on back into the bush.